Warning signals blazed crimson throughout the command center of the Zephyran warship Eternal Glory. Admiral Vexthal's 4 eyes locked onto the primary viewing screen while his sharp claws gripped the metal arms of his chair. The enormous alien resembled something between a reptile and a massive predator, with emerald scales coating his towering frame. His breath created a deep rumbling noise as he examined the data. He spoke firmly in his native tongue, which the translator converted into standard galactic language. Commander Zekran, his deputy, rushed to stand beside the admiral. Her smaller build and paler green skin showed her youth, yet her actions revealed extensive military experience. "Admiral, our distant sensors have picked up a lone craft entering the Kathvar region. It seems to be from Earth." Admiral Vexthal's inner eyelids flickered fast, showing his bewilderment among his kind. He'd been anticipating this encounter for many weeks. Humans had been growing their domain, seizing 3 stellar regions in under 2 years. The mineral extraction conflict over the Helix Nebula had brought both powers to the brink of combat. Intelligence data suggested humans were assembling a huge armada to contest Zephyran authority in this frontier zone. One craft? Vexthal's tone carried doubt. "Our analysts said they were gathering forces." "Where are all their vessels?" "Sir, our instruments detect just a single ship. It measures roughly 800 meters. Typical human construction. No additional craft found within 3 light years." The admiral rose from his seat, his complete stature making everyone else seem small. Around him, the command deck of the Eternal Glory hummed with movement. Close to 200 personnel operated at different posts, overseeing the armada of 200 warships forming Battle Group 7, the strongest force the Zephyran Empire had ever positioned in this sector. "This is illogical," Vexthal muttered. "They must know our strength. Our intelligence confirmed they're aware we're here." Commander Zekran displayed more information on her screen. "Admiral, the human craft is transmitting on regular diplomatic channels. They're asking authorization to approach our territory for peaceful discussion." "Peaceful discussion?" Vexthal's laugh sounded like stone grinding on stone. "They arrive with 1 vessel against our complete battle formation and mention peace. This shows either incredible confidence or incredible foolishness." The communications specialist, a slender Zephyran with vibrant yellow patterns on his throat, rotated toward the admiral. "Sir, the human vessel wants direct contact with the fleet leader." Admiral Vexthal scanned his command center. Every crew member had paused their tasks to observe. The atmosphere felt heavy with anticipation. These were experienced fighters who'd participated in countless engagements across the Empire's growing frontiers. They knew combat methods and planning, yet this circumstance confused all of them. "Connect them," Vexthal commanded. The primary display switched to reveal a human female seated on what looked like their vessel's bridge. She had brown skin and ebony hair secured in a practical manner. Her uniform appeared neat and official with small metal badges marking her position. Most striking to the Zephyran personnel was her expression of peaceful assurance. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth vessel Defiance. I'm seeking authorization to approach Zephyran territory to address the present circumstances in the Helix Nebula zone." Admiral Vexthal examined the human closely. He'd observed images of humans previously, yet this was his initial real-time interaction with one. They seemed smaller than Zephyrans with delicate skin and merely 2 eyes. Still, something about this specific human's behavior made him uncomfortable. "I am Admiral Vexthal, leader of the 7th Battle Formation of the Zephyran Imperial Navy. Captain Vasquez, you must realize you're nearing a strongly protected region with considerable military strength." "Affirmative, Admiral. Our instruments picked up your armada. Rather remarkable. 200 vessels if our calculations are accurate." The relaxed way she referenced their numbers startled Vexthal. Most species would feel threatened by such a demonstration of might. This human discussed it as though remarking about ordinary matters. "Then you comprehend that approaching this region with aggressive plans would be exceptionally foolish." "Admiral, I can guarantee the Defiance carries no aggressive plans. We're here to explore peaceful answers to our present disagreement." "Peaceful answers?" Vexthal's tone increased. "Your kind has seized authority over 3 stellar regions that properly belong to the Empire. You've dismissed our diplomatic objections and grown your domain without authorization. And now you arrive with just one vessel to discuss terms? Yes, sir. One vessel is sufficient for diplomatic conversations. Commander Zekran moved closer to her admiral. Sir, this must be some sort of deception. Maybe their craft holds a devastating weapon. Or perhaps it's a distraction while their actual armada circles from elsewhere. Vexthal agreed, though kept watching the human captain. Captain Vasquez, I struggled to accept that your leadership would deploy only one vessel to address such a critical matter. Where are the rest of your forces? This is our force, Admiral. The Defiance and her personnel of 200 are completely empowered to represent Earth and our partner colonies in this situation. The bridge became silent. Even the background noise of equipment seemed softer as the crew absorbed what they'd heard. One vessel with 200 personnel was regarded as a tiny escort craft by Zephyran measures. Their own flagship held over 3,000 warriors. Captain Vasquez, Vexthal said carefully, I want to confirm I grasp your stance. You're informing me that one human craft is ready to discuss terms with the complete 7th battle formation. That's accurate, Admiral. And you think one vessel is adequate for this assignment? I do. Admiral Vexthal sensed his frustration building. Among his kind, such conduct would be viewed as a clear offense. It suggested that the opposition regarded you so feeble that minimal effort was required to handle you. He'd dedicated his whole career establishing a name as a powerful warrior. The notion that these fragile-skinned humans thought so poorly of his might made his blood burn. Captain Vasquez, I firmly recommend you reach out to your leaders and demand adequate military backing. The issues we must address are far too significant for such a tiny delegation. Admiral, I value your worry, but I possess complete power to discuss terms on behalf of humanity. The Defiance shows our dedication to discovering a peaceful answer. Your dedication, Vexthal's tone dropped to a threatening growl. Captain, let me be direct about something. This region is protected by 200 of the Empire's most sophisticated warships. Each of my craft holds enough destructive capability to obliterate a small moon. My personnel are experienced warriors who've never suffered loss. And you believe your lone vessel represents a suitable response to this circumstance? Admiral, I believe our lone vessel represents precisely what this circumstance demands. Nothing beyond that, nothing short of that. The statement struck Admiral Vexthal like a physical impact. The human wasn't simply declining to recognize his greater strength. She was implying that his complete battle formation was precisely equivalent in worth to her single small craft. The offense was so deep that multiple bridge personnel made furious hissing noises. Captain Vasquez, Vexthal said through locked teeth, you have precisely 1 hour to reach out to your leadership and demand suitable military backing. If you don't have an adequate armada here within 1 day, I'll regard your attendance as an act of hostility and reply accordingly. Admiral, I comprehend your stance, but I'm concerned that won't be achievable. The Defiance is the only vessel arriving in this region. We're ready to start discussions whenever it's suitable for you. Commander Zekran stepped ahead. Admiral, maybe we should simply eliminate their craft now and deliver a warning to their leadership about the results of such disrespect. Yet Vexthal raised a hand to halt her. Something about the human captain's total absence of fear troubled him more than direct warnings would have. In his knowledge, creatures who displayed no fear either had solid reasons for their assurance or they were totally mad. He needed to determine which group this human belonged to. Captain Vasquez, help me grasp your reasoning. You must realize we could eliminate your vessel in mere minutes. You must realize your leadership has no method to defend you at this range from human territory. So why do you appear so assured? Admiral, I'm assured because I accept that both of our kinds want to prevent needless violence. The Defiance is here to discover an answer that benefits everyone. But what if we simply choose to assault your vessel right now? Captain Vasquez weighed the question seriously. Then you would assault our vessel, Admiral. But I don't believe that's what you truly wish to accomplish. And why is that? Because you're not a senseless destroyer, Admiral Vexthal. You're a skilled military leader. You comprehend the contrast between required force and pointless brutality. Eliminating a diplomatic craft would gain you nothing and damage your reputation considerably. The bridge personnel exchanged looks. This human had just evaluated their admiral's personality in a few simple statements, and her judgment was disturbingly precise. Vexthal valued being a warrior, not a murderer. You appear quite certain about what sort of person I am, Captain. I've examined your military history, Admiral. Your triumphs have always been efficient and skilled. You battle hard, yet you don't destroy needlessly. That informs me you're someone who can be approached rationally. Admiral Vexthal discovered himself in an awkward situation. The human had just praised him, while at the same time declining to display appropriate deference for his greater strength. It felt like being honored and criticized simultaneously. Captain Vasquez, your trust in my personality is acknowledged. However, the reality stays that you're in breach of Imperial territory with inadequate strength to support your stance. This isn't how diplomatic relations function. Admiral, with deference, this is precisely how diplomatic relations function. We converse. We discover shared interests. We achieve understandings that help both parties. Military strength is only required when diplomatic efforts collapse. And what makes you believe diplomatic efforts won't collapse here? Because both of our kinds are smart enough to understand when partnership serves us superior to struggle. The interaction fell quiet for multiple long seconds. Admiral Vexthal stared at the human captain, attempting to comprehend what he was facing. In his 40 years of military duty, he'd never faced anything resembling this circumstance. Eventually, he replied, Captain Vasquez, I'm going to grant you one day to reconsider your stance. Use that period to reach out to your leadership and clarify the truth of your circumstance. I won't extend this opportunity again. I value the period, Admiral, but my stance won't alter. The Defiance is here to discuss terms, and we're ready whenever you are. Admiral Vexthal terminated the interaction and rotated to face his bridge personnel. Every gaze was concentrated on him, awaiting commands. He could observe the bewilderment and frustration in their expressions. They desired action, yet he wasn't certain what action to pursue. Sir, Commander Zekrin said softly, what are your instructions? Keep present stance and vigilance level. Increase our sensor sweeps and monitor for any indication of more human vessels. They must be concealed somewhere. And if they're not, sir? What if this truly is just one vessel? Admiral Vexthal remained quiet for a lengthy period, gazing at the tactical screen that displayed his enormous armada surrounding one tiny human craft. Then, Commander, we're handling a kind that's either far more foolish or far more threatening than our intelligence data suggested. As the bridge personnel resumed their responsibilities, Admiral Vexthal couldn't dismiss the sensation that he was overlooking something critical. The human captain's total absence of fear indicated knowledge that he didn't hold. Yet what could one tiny vessel know that would make it assured enough to confront a complete battle formation? Beyond the flagship, the Defiance maintained its consistent approach toward the center of the Zephyran Armada, transmitting peaceful plans and seeking authorization to start diplomatic conversations. To the observing aliens, it appeared like the tiniest creature in the sea swimming straight toward the biggest group of predators, totally unaware of the threat. Yet, Admiral Vexthal was starting to suspect that the human vessel knew precisely what it was accomplishing. The information traveled across the galaxy quicker than illumination itself. Within hours of the initial interaction between Admiral Vexthal and Captain Vasquez, intelligence systems from countless species were active with movement. The Hive Cluster, a shared awareness of insect-like creatures, assigned 3 complete thought processes to examining the circumstance. The crystalline architects deployed their finest probability analyzers to calculate what the humans were truly scheming. On the bridge of the Hive Cluster craft Unity of Purpose, Sub-Queen Zakath's multiple eyes concentrated on various information flows at once. Her 6 limbs moved in intricate motions as she handled data from thousands of scouts scattered across neighboring regions. This creates no analytical logic, she communicated to her advisory group. Humans don't participate in self-destruction assignments for diplomatic objectives. Their mental profiles show strong survival drives. Senior Drone Velet angled his triangular skull. Maybe the lone vessel is furnished with a weapon of remarkable capability. Our evaluation of human advancement suggests they prefer effectiveness over magnitude. Incorrect, Zakath answered. Our instruments would identify any weapon able to endanger an armada of that scale. The human craft displays regular energy patterns for a vessel of its category. Meanwhile, aboard the architect craft Geometric Harmony, prime calculator resonance of truth processed hundreds of possibilities. The crystalline being's form glowed with gentle azure illumination as intricate. Mathematical formulas move through its awareness. The likelihood of human triumph with present strength deployment is 0.00001%, resonance of truth declared to the gathered collective. Therefore, this cannot be their genuine plan. Secondary calculator. Pattern of insight shimmered with interest. Then what is their actual objective? Distraction, misdirection, most probable explanation. The visible vessel is a decoy. The genuine human armada is stationed beyond our instrument range, potentially employing concealment advancement we haven't yet discovered. Back in the HFY region, Admiral Vexthal discovered himself handling more than just the puzzling human vessel. Contact demands flooded in from partners, impartial groups, and even a few kinds that were technically opponents, but interested about the developing circumstance. "Admiral," the communications specialist announced, "we're getting inquiries from the Hegemony Council, the Free Traders Alliance, and even the Void Stalkers. Everyone wishes to know what's occurring here." Vexthal massaged his scaled temple with one huge hand. "Inform them we have the circumstance managed and need no support." Commander Zekran approached with a data device. "Sir, our intelligence section has been tracking communications across the sector. The agreement seems to be that this is some variety of human mental combat." Mental combat? Vexthal weighed the notion. "Clarify." "Multiple analysts accept the humans are attempting to make us respond excessively by deploying only one vessel. They're compelling us to either appear feeble by discussing terms, or appear like oppressors by assaulting a vastly weaker strength." The Admiral's eyes tightened. "That would be smart. What else?" "Others believe the humans are purchasing time, that this lone vessel is intended to postpone us while they arrange their actual strengths. On the human vessel Defiance, Captain Vasquez was conducting her own meeting with her senior personnel. The vessel's meeting chamber was smaller than a Zephyran storage area, yet the 5 leaders present represented some of Earth's finest military intellects. "Captain," said Commander James Park, her deputy, "we're identifying enormous communication activity throughout the sector. It appears like everyone is attempting to determine what we're accomplishing here." Chief Engineer Sarah Chen glanced up from her device. "The energy patterns from the Zephyran Armada are remarkable, but nothing our defenses can't manage. If we need to depart rapidly, we can." "We're not departing," Captain Vasquez answered firmly. "We arrived here to discuss terms, and that's what we're going to accomplish." Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos, the vessel's tactical leader, appeared concerned. "Captain, with deference, the aliens seem to believe we're either mad or scheming something cunning. Maybe we should explain our plans. I've been quite direct about our plans. Maria, we're here to discover a peaceful answer to the Helix Nebula conflict." "But they don't grasp why we only deployed one vessel," Commander Park mentioned. "That's because they're reasoning like warriors instead of negotiators. They observe strength in quantities. We observe strength in control. I'm not certain they grasp the contrast. Then we'll instruct them." The following few hours brought a sequence of increasingly bewildered communications from different alien kinds. The Zephyrans obtained official questions about the human danger level. Multiple merchant organizations wished to know if commerce paths would be influenced. 2 kinds provided military support against the human invasion strength. Admiral Vexthal discovered himself in the awkward situation of clarifying that there was no invasion strength. "Just one vessel that wished to converse." "Admiral Vexthal," arrived a message from Fleet Admiral Corax of the Imperial Home Fleet. "High Command is worried about accounts of human armada activities in your sector. What is your judgment of their capability?" Vexthal gazed at the communication display showing his superior's image. Admiral Corax was even bigger than Vexthal, with combat scars marking his throat and limbs. He wasn't recognized for his tolerance. "Sir, we have verified the attendance of one human craft. No extra vessels have been identified. One craft?" Corax's tone held doubt. "Our intelligence indicated a significant human attack." "Sir, that's what we anticipated as well. Yet they have deployed only a lone vessel with a diplomatic assignment." "Admiral Vexthal, either human intelligence is far better than ours, or you're overlooking something clear. No kind deploys one vessel against a battle formation without solid reason." "Comprehended, sir." We're keeping complete vigilance level and proceeding instrument sweeps. Locate their actual armada, Admiral, and when you accomplish that, eliminate it before they can generate trouble elsewhere." The message concluded, leaving Vexthal gazing at an empty display. He was starting to sense like the humans had somehow reversed his own achievement against him. His battle formation was the pride of the Imperial Navy, yet now it seemed like an awkwardness. How could he clarify to High Command that 200 warships were being held in position by a lone opposition craft? On the bridge of unity of purpose, Sub-Queen Zakath was achieving different determinations. Evaluation update. Human conduct indicates extreme assurance in their stance. This assurance must be founded on better intelligence or better advancement or better planning, Senior Drone Velet elaborated. Regard, they accomplish maximum focus with minimum assets. Every kind in the sector is now concentrated on this region. If their objective is to generate doubt and bewilderment among their opponents, they have achieved flawlessly. Zakath's multiple eyes altered configurations as she handled this notion. Fascinating theory, yet what benefit does bewilderment supply? Uncertain. We may be observing a variety of combat we don't yet comprehend. Back on the Defiance, Captain Vasquez requested another interaction with Admiral Vexthal. The Zephyran Armada leader showed on display looking more irritated than previously. "Captain Vasquez, I hope you're contacting to notify me that extra human vessels are on their way." "No, Admiral. I'm contacting to start our discussions. We've been in your region for 6 hours now, and I'd like to begin addressing the Helix Nebula circumstance." Vexthal's inner eyelids moved rapidly. "Captain, I cannot start official discussions until you clarify your military circumstance. Where is your armada?" "Admiral, this is our armada." The Defiance represents humanity's dedication to peaceful settlement of this conflict. "One vessel is not an armada, Captain." "Why not?" The straightforward question captured Vexthal unprepared. Because armadas comprise various crafts. That's the meaning of an armada. Admiral, we favor to regard it as worth over quantity. The Defiance may be one vessel, yet she's the appropriate vessel for this assignment. "Captain Vasquez, you cannot seriously anticipate me to accept that your leadership regards one vessel adequate to settle a territorial conflict affecting various stellar regions." "Admiral, I don't anticipate you to accept anything. I anticipate you to hear our suggestion and evaluate it on its qualities." Commander Zekran, who had been observing the discussion, stepped nearer to her admiral. "Sir, maybe we should simply require they depart our territory. This dialogue is achieving nothing." Yet Vexthal raised a hand. Something about the human captain's replies troubled him. She replied every question straight, yet her replies only created more questions. "Captain Vasquez, help me comprehend something. Your kind has a name for forceful growth. You've seized authority over 3 stellar regions in under 2 years. That doesn't resemble the conduct of peaceful negotiators. Admiral, we've founded settlements in 3 unoccupied regions. There's a contrast between growth and assault. The Empire has earlier claims to those regions. The Empire has submitted territorial claims. Affirmative, yet submitting a claim and genuinely using the domain are separate things. We discovered empty regions and made them useful. Those regions fall within our area of authority. So does this region. Admiral, yet you haven't constructed any settlements here either." Vexthal sensed his frustration increasing again. The human was technically accurate, yet her reasoning seemed like an assault on everything the Empire represented. "Captain, the Empire maintains the authority to advance its domains according to its own schedule. Naturally, Admiral, just as humanity maintains the authority to advance unoccupied domains according to our schedule. Those domains are not unoccupied if we have claimed them. Admiral, with deference, claiming a stellar region and using a stellar region are not identical. We didn't seize anything from you. We just arrived first." The bridge personnel of the Eternal Glory observed this discussion with mounting irritation. Their admiral was being outmaneuvered by a human who discussed in circles while somehow always appearing rational. "Captain Vasquez," Vexthal said carefully, "are you informing me that your leadership's stance is that unoccupied regions belong to whoever settles them initially? That's one method to view it, Admiral. Another method is to state that regions belong to whoever can make useful employment of them. And what if various kinds can make useful employment of the same region? Then we discuss terms, Admiral. We converse. We discover answers that function for everyone. And if discussions collapse, Captain Vasquez remained quiet for a period. When she replied, her tone held a separate quality. Then we handle that circumstance when it occurs, Admiral. Yet I favor to accept that smart kinds can discover peaceful answers to their difficulties. Admiral Vexthal terminated the interaction and rotated to face his bridge personnel. The bewilderment in their expressions matched his own sensations flawlessly. "Sir," Commander Zekrin said cautiously, "I don't believe the humans are attempting to mislead us. I believe they genuinely accept that one vessel is adequate for this circumstance. Yet that's impossible, Commander. No kind reasons that method. Maybe humans do. Sir, the notion that humans might genuinely reason differently from every other recognized kind was more troubling to Vexthal than the chance that they were deceiving. If humans genuinely observed no difficulty with deploying one vessel against a complete battle formation, what did that reveal about their comprehension of combat? What did it reveal about their comprehension of truth? Commander, increase our instrument sweeps again. Broaden the examination configuration to encompass zones where concealment vessels might conceal. I want to know if there are any human crafts within 10 light-years of this stance. Yes. Sir, as Commander Zekran moved to execute his commands, Admiral Vexthal gazed at the tactical screen displaying the stances of all vessels in the region. 200 emerald points representing his armada surrounded one crimson point representing the human vessel. It should have been a straightforward circumstance. Instead, it was becoming the most bewildering task of his career. Across the galaxy, intelligence evaluators continued processing through the night, attempting to comprehend what the humans were truly scheming. The agreement was that this had to be some variety of sophisticated planning that other kinds hadn't faced previously. None of them regarded the chance that the humans were accomplishing precisely what they stated they were accomplishing, deploying one vessel to discuss terms for a peaceful answer to a territorial conflict. The notion was so straightforward, so direct that it never happened to anyone that it might genuinely be accurate. And that confusion was about to make the circumstance far more intricate. Admiral Vexthal stood in his personal chambers, gazing out at the stars through the huge viewing window. 18 hours had elapsed since the human vessel arrived, and he was no nearer to comprehending their planning. His rest period had been disrupted by constant accounts from instrument operators who discovered nothing, intelligence leaders who had no fresh intelligence, and communication experts who could only repeat the same bewildering messages from Captain Vasquez. A gentle tone showed someone requesting access to his chambers. "Approach!" he summoned without rotating around. Commander Zekrin arrived and moved to stand beside her admiral. She was younger than him by almost 20 years, yet her tactical intellect was acute. More significantly, she often observed things from perspectives that escaped his more conventional reasoning. "Sir, I've been examining our instrument information from the past day. No extra-human vessels identified anywhere in the surrounding regions. They must be there somewhere, Commander." "What if they're not, sir?" Vexthal eventually rotated to face her. "Clarify, sir, what if the humans truly did deploy only one vessel? What if they genuinely accept that diplomatic discussions demand only diplomatic personnel? That would be naive to the degree of madness, Commander. Would it, sir? Or would it be something else completely?" Vexthal examined his deputy carefully. Zekrin had a pattern of reasoning through difficulties and methods that sometimes made him uneasy. "What are you implying?" "Sir, I've been examining the humans' replies to our communications. Every occasion we reference our greater quantities, she recognizes them without any indication of worry. Every occasion we indicate her weakness, she concurs, yet doesn't alter her stance. Either she's totally separated from truth or she knows something we don't, such as the chance that her lone vessel is somehow comparable to our complete armada." Admiral Vexthal sensed a chill travel down his spine. "Commander, that's impossible. We've examined their craft thoroughly. It's a regular human construction with nothing remarkable about its magnitude, energy output, or weapon arrangements." "Then maybe the contrast isn't in their advancement, sir." "What do you mean?" Commander Zekrin paused before replying. "Sir, what if the contrast is in their reasoning? What if humans comprehend something about combat that we don't?" The notion was troubling enough that Vexthal stayed quiet for multiple minutes. In his knowledge, combat was about capability, quantities, and greater destructive strength. The party with more vessels and bigger weapons triumphed. It was a straightforward, dependable principle that had served the Empire successfully for ages. Commander, I want you to construct an examination. Sir, if the humans know something we don't, we need to discover what it is. Construct a situation that will compel them to expose their actual abilities. What sort of situation, Admiral? Deploy a squadron to accompany their vessel. Make it direct that we're assessing their danger level. If they're concealing something, they'll either expose it or summon backup. Commander Zekran agreed. How forceful should our accompaniment be, sir? Forceful enough to make them uneasy, yet not so forceful that we can be blamed of assaulting a diplomatic craft. Comprehended, sir. 2 hours afterward, 12 Zephyran warships separated formation from the primary armada and moved toward the Defiance. Each vessel was 3 times the magnitude of the human craft and held enough destructive capability to transform a tiny asteroid to powder. Their approach was organized and skilled, yet their intent was direct. On the bridge of the Defiance, Lieutenant Commander Santos glanced up from her tactical screen. Captain, we have 12 Zephyran vessels approaching. They're transmitting a message requesting authorization to supply accompaniment services. Captain Vasquez smiled slightly. How considerate of them. Connect a channel. The primary display revealed the bridge of the leader craft. A mid-level leader with the position badges of a squadron commander showed on display. His identity was Tekvar, and his service history revealed 15 years of combat knowledge. Captain Vasquez, I am Squadron Commander Tekvar. Admiral Vexthal has designated my vessels to accompany your craft during your stay in our region. Appreciation, Commander. That's quite thoughtful. We value the gesture. Tekvar had anticipated objections, requirements, or at minimum questions about the necessity of such accompaniment. The human's gracious acceptance captured him unprepared. Captain, my vessels will be executing routine security sweeps while we accompany you. This may demand close proximity movements. Naturally, Commander. Please inform us if you need any support with navigation or coordination. Support? Tekvar's bewilderment was visible on his scaled features. Certainly, Commander. We've been functioning in this region for almost a day now. Our navigation systems have detailed data about local gravitational irregularities, solar wind configurations, and best flight routes. If sharing that information would help your vessels function more effectively, we're pleased to supply it. Commander Tekvar glanced at something beyond view, presumably obtaining guidance from his own bridge personnel. When he rotated back to the camera, his expression was even more bewildered. Captain, that won't be required. My vessels are completely able to manage routine accompaniment responsibilities. I'm certain they are, Commander. I was just proposing to help. Partnership makes everything simpler. The interaction concluded, leaving Tekvar gazing at an empty display. His tactical leader, an experienced warrior named Grek, leaned over from his post. Sir, how should we interpret the human's reply? I have no notion, Grek. She proposed to help us accompany her own vessel. Maybe it's a variety of mental manipulation. Or maybe she genuinely intended to be helpful. Sir, that creates no logic in this situation. Commander Tekvar had to concur. Nothing about the human captain's conduct created logic in any military situation he comprehended. Over the following few hours, the Zephyran accompaniment squadron executed increasingly forceful movements around the Defiance. They completed high-velocity passes, enabled targeting instruments, and fixed weapon locks on the human craft. Each action was technically within the limits of accompaniment responsibilities, yet the intent was obviously challenging. The human reply to each intensification was identical. Skilled recognition followed by helpful recommendations. When the Zephyrans completed high-velocity passes, Captain Vasquez praised their piloting abilities and recommended minor route adjustments that would enhance fuel effectiveness. When they enabled targeting instruments, she appreciated them for the security examination and proposed to supply detailed plans of her vessel's arrangements to help them finish their examinations more rapidly. When they fixed weapon locks, she courteously indicated that their targeting systems might be malfunctioning and proposed to share diagnostic programs that could help them resolve the difficulty. Captain, Commander Tekvar eventually transmitted after his 4th attempt to generate a reaction. Are you aware that my vessels have fixed targeting locks on your craft? Affirmative, Commander. We identified the locks instantly. Is there a difficulty with your targeting arrangements? We've noticed some variation in the lock patterns that might show calibration problems. Our targeting arrangements are functioning flawlessly, Captain. Oh, excellent. Then you're just practicing target acquisition exercises. That's smart reasoning, Commander. Regular training keeps personnel sharp. Commander Tekvar concluded the interaction and rotated to his bridge personnel. Does anyone have any notion what's occurring here? His weapons leader, a young female named Sectra, lifted one clawed hand. Sir, maybe the humans don't comprehend what weapon locks signify. They identified them instantly and recognized frequency variations, Sectra. They comprehend our advancement flawlessly. Then maybe they don't observe weapon locks as endangering. The notion delivered a chill through every member of the bridge personnel. Among Zephyrans, fixing a weapon lock on another vessel was one step before genuinely attacking. It was a direct warning that required an instant reply. The notion that another kind might not observe it as endangering indicated either ignorance or complete assurance. Sir, the communication specialist announced, we're obtaining a message from Admiral Vexthal. The Admiral's image showed on the command display. Commander Tekvar, what is your judgment of the human craft? Sir, I honestly don't know how to classify them. They reply to every forceful action with helpful recommendations and friendly partnership. Are they frightened? No, sir. They display no indications of fear or pressure. If anything, they appear genuinely satisfied to have our presence. Have they exposed any concealed abilities? No, sir. Their replies have been purely communicative. No protective actions, no counter-movements, no summons for backup. Admiral Vexthal remained quiet for a lengthy period. Commander, I want you to intensify your examination. Make them uneasy enough that they must reply with something other than helpful recommendations. How far should I intensify, Admiral? As far as required, yet stay within the technical limits of accompaniment responsibilities. Comprehended, sir. What followed was the most forceful accompaniment assignment in Zephyran military history. Commander Tekvar's vessels surrounded the Defiant so tightly that their protective bubbles almost contacted. They coordinated their weapon locks to generate a constant targeting configuration. They flooded the human vessel with instrument sweeps so intensive that most kinds would regard them acts of hostility. Captain Vasquez's reply was to invite Commander Tekvar and his senior leaders aboard the Defiance for dinner. Captain, Tekvar transmitted. Did you just invite us to dine on your vessel? I did, Commander. You and your personnel have been functioning quite hard to keep us secure. The minimum we can accomplish is propose you a quality meal. Captain, we are not keeping you secure. We are executing security assessments. Naturally, Commander, and we value how thorough you're being. An adequate security assessment demands a lot of hard effort. That's why we'd like to display our appreciation. Commander Tekvar glanced around his bridge at the expressions of his personnel. They gazed back at him with expressions that varied from bewilderment to something nearing panic. Captain, I don't believe you comprehend the nature of our present relationship. Commander, I believe I comprehend it flawlessly. You're accomplishing your assignment and we're accomplishing ours. There's no reason we can't be courteous about it. The word courteous struck the Zephyran personnel like a physical impact. It was precisely the sort of thing a greater kind might state to primitives who didn't comprehend proper conduct. Sir, his tactical leader whispered. I believe the humans are attempting to communicate something. What sort of something? Grek, I believe they're attempting to communicate that they're not concerned about our weapons because our weapons don't concern them. Commander Tekvar gazed at the human vessel on his screen. It appeared precisely like what it was meant to be, a medium-sized diplomatic craft with regular protective abilities. Yet if Grek's reasoning was accurate, then its appearance was totally misleading. Connect a channel, he commanded. Captain Vasquez showed on display, still displaying that same expression of peaceful assurance. Commander, have you considered our dinner proposal? Captain Vasquez, I need to pose you a straightforward question. Naturally, Commander. Are you frightened of my vessels? Captain Vasquez weighed the question earnestly. Commander, your vessels are quite remarkable, and I have considerable deference for their abilities. Yet no, I'm not frightened of them. Why not? Because there's no reason to be frightened, Commander. We're not opponents. We're just people attempting to determine how to cooperate. Yet, Captain, My vessels could eliminate your craft. Affirmative, Commander, they could. Just like our vessel could eliminate your vessels. Yet neither of us wishes to accomplish that, so why focus on it? The interaction concluded suddenly as Commander Tekvar severed the transmission. He rotated to face his bridge personnel and observed his own surprise reflected in their expressions. She stated their vessel could eliminate our vessels, he said softly. Sir, Grek answered, either she's deceiving, or we've been examining something far more threatening than we understood. Commander Tekvar examined the human vessel on his tactical screen. It still appeared like a straightforward diplomatic craft. Yet Captain Vasquez had discussed its destructive abilities the same manner she discussed sharing navigation information, as if it were a straightforward, clear reality. All vessels, he transmitted to his squadron, keep present stances yet reduced to yellow vigilance. And someone obtain me a straight channel to Admiral Vexthal. He needs to hear about this instantly. As the Zephyran squadron withdrew to a more respectful range, the personnel of the Defiance proceeded with their routine responsibilities. To them, the complete episode had been precisely what it seemed, a security accompaniment that had gotten somewhat carried away with its thoroughness. Captain Vasquez returned to her personal chamber to proceed preparing for discussions that she hoped would start soon. She had no notion that her straightforward, honest replies had just persuaded a complete squadron of alien warriors that humanity held weapon advancement beyond their awareness. The examination had exposed something about human abilities, yet it wasn't what Admiral Vexthal had anticipated to discover. Admiral Vexthal observed Commander Tekvar's account with mounting concern. The human captain's relaxed reference of her vessel's destructive abilities had disturbed his experienced squadron commander, and that concerned him more than any straight warning would have. Admiral, Tekvar finished his transmission, I suggest we reevaluate our comprehension of human military advancement. The captain discussed eliminating our vessels the same manner she discussed sharing navigation information. Appreciation, Commander. Keep your accompaniment stance, yet prevent further challenges until we comprehend what we're handling. Vexthal concluded the interaction and summoned his senior personnel to assemble in the primary briefing chamber. Within minutes, his top leaders had gathered around the huge holographic screen that controlled the center of the chamber. Gentlemen, Vexthal started, we have a difficulty. The human craft may represent a considerably greater danger than our initial judgment showed. Commander Zekran moved ahead. Sir, are you stating they do possess greater weapons? I'm stating we don't know what they possess, Commander, and that ignorance is becoming threatening. The vessel's chief intelligence leader, a slender Zephyran named Mortek, enabled his personal information device. Admiral, I've been evaluating all available data about human military abilities. Their growth into 3 stellar regions was accomplished with relatively tiny armadas. This indicates either greater advancement or greater planning, or both. The question, Vexthal stated, is whether we're examining a diplomatic craft that happens to be well armed, or a warship concealed as a diplomatic craft. Sir, Commander Zekran said cautiously, there's a third chance, which is that it truly is just a diplomatic craft, and the humans genuinely don't observe our armada as a danger. The briefing chamber became quiet. The notion that any kind could examine 200 warships and not sense endangered was so foreign to Zephyran reasoning that it was challenging to handle. Commander, Mortek stated carefully, if that's accurate, then humans either possess protective abilities we can't conceive, or they're totally mad. Or, Zekran answered, they comprehend something about combat that we don't. Before Admiral Vexthal could reply, warning signals started sounding throughout the vessel. The bridge communication specialist's tone arrived over the intercom. Admiral, to the bridge instantly. We have unknown contacts attacking civilian crafts in the outer region. Vexthal and his leaders rushed to the bridge to discover controlled disorder. Various screen displays revealed tactical data as instrument operators monitored fast-moving contacts near the region's boundary. Account, Vexthal commanded. Sir, the tactical leader answered. 16 unknown crafts have assaulted a civilian transport near the 4th planet. Construction indicates Kethvian pirates. Admiral Vexthal uttered a curse under his breath. The Kethvian pirates were a persistent difficulty in this zone, yet they typically prevented regions with heavy military attendance. The reality that they were bold enough to assault with a complete battle formation in region indicated either desperation or foolishness. "Sir," Commander Zekran announced, "the transport comprises 7 merchant crafts from different kinds. They're transmitting emergency signals. Range to contact? 47 minutes at maximum velocity, sir." Vexthal weighed his choices. The pirates had selected their timing cleverly. His armada was arranged to observe the human vessel, not to reply to dangers at the region's boundary. He could send part of his strength, yet that would mean diminishing his observation on the humans during a critical period. "Sir," the communication specialist announced, "we're obtaining a message from the human craft." Captain Vasquez showed on the primary display, yet her expression was separate now. The relaxed friendliness was absent, replaced by concentrated intensity. "Admiral Vexthal, we're identifying the assault on the civilian transport. The Defiance is moving to support. Captain, that's not required. We have the circumstance managed." "Admiral, with deference, you have 12 vessels arranged around us, and the remainder of your armada is 47 minutes away from the assault location." "We can be there in 12 minutes." Vexthal sensed his bewilderment returning. "Captain, we value your proposal, yet this is an internal issue for the Empire to manage." "Admiral, those are civilian vessels under assault. This isn't about politics or domains. This is about people who need help." Before Vexthal could reply, his tactical leader summoned out urgently. "Sir, the human vessel is accelerating. They're moving straight toward the combat location." On the tactical screen, the crimson point representing the Defiance was indeed moving away from the Zephyran armada at a remarkable velocity. More troubling was what occurred to Commander Tekvar's accompaniment squadron. "Admiral," arrived Tekvar's tone over the communication arrangement, "the human vessel just departed. We were keeping accompaniment formation and suddenly they accelerated past us like we were motionless. Follow them, Commander." "Sir, we're attempting, yet they're withdrawing from us. Our engines can't equal their acceleration." Admiral Vexthal gazed at the tactical screen in astonishment. The Defiance had just outpaced 12 of the Empire's quickest vessels without clear effort. Either human advancement was far more sophisticated than intelligence accounts showed, or the vessel had been hiding its actual abilities all along. "All vessels," he commanded, "maximum velocity toward the assault location. We cannot permit the humans to confront opposition strengths without support." Yet even as his armada started moving, Vexthal could observe that they would arrive too delayed. The human vessel would reach the combat long before any Zephyran craft could supply support. 12 minutes afterward, the Defiance emerged from faster-than-light movement at the boundary of the combat zone. What Admiral Vexthal and his personnel observed through their distant-range instruments altered their comprehension of combat forever. The pirate vessels were medium-sized attackers, each armed with enough destructive capability to endanger a merchant craft, yet not enough to battle a genuine warship. 16 of them had surrounded the 7-vessel transport and were methodically eliminating the merchant's protective arrangements. Before moving in for the destruction, the Defiance arrived like a natural force. The initial thing the observing Zephyrians noticed was that the human vessel didn't reduce velocity. Instead of dropping to sublight velocities and approaching cautiously, it emerged straight into the middle of the combat at complete velocity. The pirates' formations, which had been cautiously arranged to capture the transport, suddenly discovered themselves scattered by a craft moving quicker than their targeting systems could monitor. The second thing they noticed was the humans' protective arrangements. Pirate weapons that could pierce through merchant defenses and armor scarcely registered against the Defiance. Energy beams that should have generated considerable damage simply dissolved harmlessly against some variety of protection that Zephyran instruments couldn't recognize. Yet it was the human weapons that genuinely astonished the observing aliens. The Defiance didn't employ conventional energy weapons or projectile arrangements. Instead, it discharged something that appeared like managed gravitational disruptions. Space itself seemed to curve around the pirate vessels as these weapons struck them. Hulls that should have detonated simply ceased functioning. Engines that should have ignited just went inactive. Weapons that should have malfunctioned silently shut down. "By the gods!" whispered Commander Zekran. They're not eliminating the pirates. They're disabling them, Admiral Vexthal observed in amazement as the human vessel methodically neutralized the complete pirate armada without destroying anyone. Each discharge was accurately targeted to disable particular arrangements rather than generate catastrophic damage. When pirates attempted to escape, the Defiance simply made their engines cease functioning. When they attempted to self-destruct rather than be seized, the human weapons somehow prevented the detonations. "Sir," the tactical leader announced, "the human vessel has disabled all 16 pirate crafts. Total combat period, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Yet the humans weren't finished. Even as Admiral Vexthal's armada eventually arrived at the combat location, the Defiance was already organizing rescue functions. The vessel deployed tiny shuttles that started moving between the damaged merchant crafts, supplying medical support and emergency repairs. "Admiral," arrived Captain Vasquez's tone over the communication arrangement. "We have the circumstance stabilized. The pirate crafts are disabled yet intact. The merchant vessels have casualties that need medical focus. We're supplying what support we can, yet some of them need facilities we don't possess." "Captain," Vexthal answered, his tone scarcely steady. How did you accomplish that?" "Accomplish what, Admiral?" "Disable 16 vessels in under 5 minutes without eliminating them. Regular non-lethal combat protocols, Admiral. We attempt not to destroy people unless completely required." "Non-lethal?" "Captain, those weapons you employed, we've never observed anything resembling them. They're just gravitational field manipulators, Admiral. Nothing elaborate. They disrupt matter connection in targeted zones without generating explosive breakdown." "Admiral," Vexthal sensed like he was observing someone describe impossible sorcery, as if it were straightforward engineering. Gravitational field manipulation was theoretical science for the Empire. The humans discussed it like routine advancement. "Captain," he stated cautiously, "would you be willing to transfer the wounded merchants to our medical facilities?" "Naturally, Admiral. That would be quite helpful. Our medical section is quality, yet yours are likely superior furnished for various casualties." Over the following hour, Admiral Vexthal observed human and Zephyran personnel function together to rescue survivors and secure the disabled pirate crafts. The humans organized the complete function with peaceful effectiveness, treating it as a routine emergency reply rather than a military triumph. Captain Vasquez herself supervised the transfer of wounded merchants to Zephyran medical vessels, functioning alongside alien doctors as if she'd been accomplishing it all her existence. She posed smart questions about Zephyran medical methods and proposed recommendations founded on human emergency medicine. "Admiral," Commander Zekran stated softly, "I need to indicate something." "What is it, Commander?" "Sir, the human vessel could have accomplished that to us. Everything they accomplished to the pirates, disabling our arrangements, neutralizing our weapons, halting our engines, they could have accomplished that to our complete armada." The understanding struck Admiral Vexthal like a physical impact. For the past 2 days, he had been warning a vessel that could have disabled his complete battle formation without breaking stride. The humans hadn't been assured because they were naive. They had been assured because they were totally, utterly, overwhelmingly greater. "Sir," the communication specialist announced, "Captain Vasquez is requesting authorization to converse with you privately." "Connect her through." Captain Vasquez showed on display once again, wearing that expression of peaceful professionalism. Yet now Admiral Vexthal comprehended what he was examining. This wasn't the expression of someone who was naive about military capability. This was the expression of someone who held so much capability that she could manage to be gentle with those who possessed less. "Admiral," she stated, "I wish to appreciate you for permitting us to support with the rescue function. Your medical groups accomplished excellent work." "Captain," Vexthal answered, "I believe we need to converse." "I've been hoping we could accomplish that, Admiral. I accept we have much to address." "Affirmative," Admiral Vexthal stated, examining around his bridge at the expressions of his personnel. "I accept we do." For the initial occasion since the human vessel had arrived, he was starting to comprehend what sort of kind he was handling. And for the initial occasion in his military career, Admiral Vexthal sensed something he had never experienced before when facing an opposition. Genuine deference. The humans hadn't deployed one vessel because they were confident or foolish. They had deployed one vessel because one vessel was adequate. Not just adequate to protect themselves, yet adequate to support others, adequate to display control, and adequate to demonstrate that actual capability. Sometimes meant selecting not to. Employ the strength you held. The revelation was humbling in a manner that no military loss could have been. The official assembly occurred aboard the Zephyrin flagship Eternal Glory in Admiral Vexthal's personal conference chamber. Captain Vasquez arrived with only two companions, her deputy, Commander Park, and her chief diplomatic consultant, Dr. Elizabeth Chen. The chamber itself was constructed to threaten, with elevated ceilings, shadowy metal walls, and screen displays revealing the stances of the complete Zephyrin armada. Admiral Vexthal had selected his attendees cautiously. Commander Zekran for her tactical insights, Intelligence Chief Mortek for his analytical intellect, and his diplomatic consultant, an elderly Zephyran named Kolk, who had dedicated 40 years discussing terms with different alien kinds. Captain Vasquez, Admiral Vexthal started, before we address territorial issues, I need to comprehend something about your vessel's abilities. Naturally, Admiral. What would you like to know? How long has humanity held gravitational manipulation advancement? Captain Vasquez exchanged a look with Dr. Chen before replying. Admiral, we've been employing basic gravitational field generators for roughly 30 years. The weapons you observe today are a more recent advancement, maybe 10 years established. And how many human vessels hold such weapons? All of them, Admiral. Regular equipment on everything from patrol craft to exploration crafts. The quietness that followed this declaration was deep. Admiral Vexthal had been hoping that the Defiance was some variety of experimental design or elite craft. The notion that every human vessel held advancement that surpassed his complete armada was challenging to handle. Captain, Commander Zekran stated cautiously, if all human vessels hold such sophisticated abilities, why did your kind permit territorial conflicts to develop? You could have simply seized what you desired. Dr. Chen moved ahead. Commander, that's precisely why we didn't seize what we desired. Possessing the capacity to accomplish something doesn't signify you should accomplish it. I don't comprehend, admitted Intelligence Chief Mortek. Chief, let me pose you a question, Captain Vasquez stated. If you possessed the capacity to seize food from a child, would you accomplish it? Naturally not. Yet what does that concern territorial growth? Everything, Dr. Chen answered. Humanity learned a long period ago that capability without control leads to catastrophe. We could seize any region we desired, yet that would make us conquerors, not neighbors. Admiral Vexthal sensed pieces of a puzzle connecting in his intellect. You're stating that your kind selects to restrict its own growth? We select to grow responsibly, Admiral. There's a contrast between seizing what you can and seizing what you need. Yet the 3 regions you settled were claimed by the Empire. They were claimed, Admiral, yet they weren't being employed. We needed locations to found fresh settlements for our expanding population. Rather than seize occupied regions by strength, we discovered empty ones and made them useful. Diplomat Kolk replied for the initial occasion. Captain, you must comprehend that the Empire's territorial claims are founded on long-term strategic scheming. We may not advance a region instantly, yet that doesn't signify we don't plan to employ it eventually. We comprehend that, sir, Commander Park answered. Yet we also accept that empty regions should be put to quality employment rather than held indefinitely for future advancement. And what occurs when the Empire is ready to advance those regions? Admiral Vexthal posed. Then we discuss terms, Admiral, Captain Vasquez answered. We discover answers that function for everyone. And if discussion collapses, then we discover superior methods to discuss terms. The reply irritated Admiral Vexthal because it wasn't truly a reply at all. Captain, what I'm posing is, what occurs if 2 kinds both desire the same region and cannot reach understanding? Dr. Chen moved back in her chair. Admiral, in our knowledge, that circumstance is typically founded on a false assumption. Which assumption? The assumption that there's only one answer. In 30 years of growth, humanity has never faced a resource conflict that couldn't be resolved through creative reasoning and genuine faith discussion. That appears unlikely, Mortek remarked. It appears unlikely because most kinds approach discussions as competitions rather than problem-resolving exercises, Dr. Chen answered. They concentrate on winning rather than discovering answers that help everyone. Commander Zekran moved ahead with interest. Can you supply us an example? Certainly, Captain Vasquez stated. 5 years ago, we had a conflict with the hegemony over a region that contained rare minerals needed for sophisticated electronics. Both kinds desired exclusive access to the deposits. How was it settled? Admiral Vexthal posed. We constructed a joint mining function. Humanity supplied transportation and refining advancement. The hegemony supplied extraction knowledge and security. Both kinds obtained the minerals they needed. Plus, we both learned fresh techniques from functioning together. And both parties were satisfied with this arrangement? Both parties were more than satisfied, Admiral. The joint function produces twice as much output as either kind could have accomplished alone. Plus, the partnership led to other helpful collaborations. Admiral Vexthal struggled to comprehend how such an arrangement could function. Yet, Captain, what prevents one party from simply seizing authority of the complete function once it's founded? The same thing that prevents us from seizing authority of your domain, Admiral. We don't desire to be the sort of kind that breaks understandings and betrays partners. Even if you could gain considerable benefits by accomplishing so? Especially then, Admiral. Short-term benefits gained through betrayal always lead to long-term difficulties. Other kinds cease trusting you. Collaborations become impossible. Eventually, you end up isolated and surrounded by opponents. Dr. Chen agreed. Humanity learned this lesson the challenging manner, Admiral. We dedicated ages battling wars over assets and domain. Eventually, we understood that partnership was more beneficial than conquest. More beneficial how? Mortek posed. When you conquer a kind, you obtain their assets, yet lose their knowledge and abilities. When you partner with them, you obtain access to their assets, plus you learn from their knowledge. Collaboration generates worth. Conquest just redistributes it. Admiral Vexthal discovered himself reasoning about the rescue function he had observed. The humans could have dismissed the pirate assault, or they could have eliminated the pirates totally. Instead, they had selected a third choice: disable the danger while preserving existence and organizing rescue efforts. Captain, he stated carefully, when your vessel confronted the pirates, you could have eliminated them all in seconds. Why didn't you? Because eliminating them wasn't required, Admiral. Our objective was to halt the assault and defend the civilians. Once we accomplished that objective, there was no reason to continue battling. Yet those pirates will probably escape custody and assault other civilians in the future. Not required, Admiral. We seized their vessels intact, which signifies we possess access to their navigation systems, communication records, and personnel files. Intelligence gathered from this incident will support local authorities shut down their complete function. Commander Zekran appeared thoughtful. So by preserving the pirates' existences and vessels, you gained more intelligence than you would have by eliminating them. Precisely, Commander. Plus, some of those pirates might be willing to supply data in exchange for diminished sentences, and some might even be persuaded to alter their methods completely. You accept pirates can be reformed? Admiral Vexthal posed skeptically. Some can, Admiral. People become pirates for separate reasons. Some are just criminals, yet others are desperate people who don't observe alternatives. If you supply them superior choices, some of them will seize those choices. Dr. Chen added, humanity has discovered that rehabilitation is more effective than punishment for diminishing future crime. It's also more cost-effective in the long term. The dialogue proceeded for multiple more hours, addressing topics from asset allocation to struggle settlement to the philosophical foundation of interspecies partnership. With each exchange, Admiral Vexthal discovered his comprehension of humanity evolving. These weren't naive idealists who didn't comprehend capability. They were pragmatists who had learned to employ capability more effectively than any kind he had faced. They didn't prevent struggle because they were feeble. They prevented struggle because they had discovered superior methods to accomplish their objectives. Eventually, as the official session was concluding, Admiral Vexthal posed the question that had been troubling him most. Captain Vasquez, I need to comprehend something. Why did you truly deploy only one vessel? The truth, please. Captain Vasquez remained quiet for a period, obviously weighing her reply cautiously. Admiral, we deployed one vessel because that's what the circumstance demanded. If we had deployed 100 vessels, what message would that have communicated? That humanity takes territorial conflicts earnestly, or that humanity resolves difficulties through overwhelming strength rather than smart discussion, that we're conquerors rather than neighbors, yet you risked having your vessel eliminated or seized. Did we, Admiral? Captain Vasquez's question was gentle, yet pointed. You've observed what the Defiance can accomplish. You know that we could have disabled your complete armada if we had desired to. Were we truly at risk? The question remained in the air as Admiral Vexthal weighed the implications. The humans hadn't deployed one vessel because they were feeble or naive. They had deployed one vessel because they were so assured in their abilities that they could manage to appear vulnerable. It was the ultimate expression of capability, the capacity to display control while holding overwhelming strength. Admiral, Captain Vasquez proceeded, we could have arrived in this region with an armada large enough to threaten you into submission. We could have seized the contested regions by strength. We could have founded ourselves as the controlling capability in this zone through military superiority. Why didn't you? Because none of those approaches would have resolved the actual difficulty, Admiral. They would have just generated fresh difficulties. We don't desire to be your conquerors. We desire to be your neighbors, and neighbors settle their conflicts through dialogue, not brutality. Admiral Vexthal examined around the conference table at his leaders. He could observe that they were struggling with the same conceptual adjustments that he was experiencing. Everything they had been instructed about combat and diplomatic relations was being reversed upside down. Captain, he stated eventually, I believe I'm starting to comprehend your stance, yet I need to pose what occurs if we can't reach understanding on the territorial problems. Then we continue conversing, Admiral. We attempt separate approaches. We bring in mediators if required. We search for creative answers that we haven't considered yet. And if all of that collapses, Captain Vasquez displayed a warm expression. Admiral, it's been my knowledge that when smart creatures approach a difficulty with genuine goodwill, they can always discover an answer. The challenge is making certain both parties genuinely desire to resolve the difficulty rather than just win the argument. 3 days afterward, Admiral Vexthal discovered himself authorizing the most remarkable peace agreement in Zephyran military history. The understanding founded joint human-Zephyran advancement of the contested regions, with both kinds contributing assets and knowledge to settlement efforts. It generated trade collaborations that helped both economies. It even founded cultural exchange programs and joint research initiatives. Most significantly, it officially acknowledged humanity as a neighboring capability rather than an invading strength. The agreement recognized that the galaxy was vast enough for various kinds to prosper without competing for every available asset. As Captain Vasquez prepared to depart the Cathvar region, Admiral Vexthal requested one concluding personal interaction. Captain, he stated, I desire to appreciate you for instructing us something significant. What's that, Admiral? That actual capability isn't about possessing the strength to eliminate your opponents. It's about possessing the wisdom to transform your opponents into partners. Captain Vasquez displayed a genuine expression. Admiral, I believe you're going to discover that humanity and the Zephyran Empire have a quite productive future together. As the Defiance departed the region, word of the peaceful settlement traveled rapidly throughout the galaxy. Other kinds, who had been observing the circumstance with considerable interest, started to reconsider their own assumptions about humanity. The humans hadn't deployed one vessel because they were confident or foolish. They had deployed one vessel because they comprehended something that other kinds were just starting to learn, that the most threatening creatures in the universe were often those who selected not to demonstrate their complete capability unless completely required. And sometimes the greatest triumph was persuading your opponents that they didn't need to be your opponents at all. The galaxy was altering, one dialogue at a time.